Hello, a very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News and to Wednesday night's calendar.
Thank you for joining us. Here are tonight's main stories.
A boy accused of stabbing 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose with a hunting knife at a school in Sheffield appears in court charged with murder. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister calls Harvey's death horrific and senseless.
The thoughts of the whole House are with the victims' family, friends and the school community and the wider community who've been impacted by this.
The makeshift shrine here to Harvey continues to grow at the gates of All Saints Catholic High School as teachers prepare to open classrooms back up to students tomorrow.
We'll have more on today's developments in Sheffield shortly, but also coming up tonight.
Get on the floor now!
Protect the protectors. Frontline trauma like this is causing a mental health crisis in our police forces and costing 60,000 officer days in stress.
It's fight or flight, and at that moment my daughter's face has literally flashed in my eyes and I just thought, what do I do here? How do I get out of this?
On the road to nowhere, how the cost of fixing landslips on the Snake Pass could see this historic Trans-Pennine route closed for good.
And talking of which, why did the zebras cross the road? Well, you'll have to stay tuned to find out.
But first tonight, the teenage boy accused of murdering 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose at a school in Sheffield has appeared in court for the first time.
Harvey was stabbed at around lunchtime on Monday. Today, magistrates heard claims he was attacked with a hunting knife.
The boy accused of killing Harvey, who's also 15, was remanded into youth detention until he appears at Crown Court tomorrow. Well, Michael Billington was at today's hearing, and Michael, you heard further details about what happened, didn't you?
Yes, Ian, the Sheffield Youth Court heard that the 15-year-old was stabbed with a hunting knife here at All Saints Catholic High School. The district judge, Tim Spruce, saying that this allegation involves a knife, a hunting knife, being taken into school and used to stab another pupil in broad daylight, resulting in the death of that pupil. Now, because the boy accused of Harvey's death is under 18, he, like Harvey, is just 15 years old. We can't identify him for legal reasons, but he was brought into the dock today wearing a light grey tracksuit and flanked by 4 security officers as he faced charges of murder, possession of a bladed article and a fray. When he was asked by the judge whether he understood the charges against him, he answered yes. Now, because of the seriousness of the allegations against him, his case will have to be heard at the Crown Court, and so he's due there tomorrow afternoon. Until then, he'll be held in youth detention.
Now, Michael, we've seen today that Harvey's death has sent shockwaves right across the country.
Yeah, the ripple effects of what happened here on Monday being felt far beyond here in South Yorkshire. Harvey's death was actually raised in Prime Minister's questions today, with Louise Haigh, the local MP, asking the Prime Minister what the government planned to do to try and tackle the root causes of violent crime.
I know the whole House will support the Prime Minister's comments and send our thoughts to the family and all those who loved Harvey Wilgoose after his tragic and senseless death.
This incident was horrific and senseless, and I thank you for raising it. I think the thoughts of the whole House are with the victims' family, friends and the school community and the wider community who've been impacted by this. It is too easy to get knives online. It's too easy to carry knives without proper consequences, and that's why we've made it an absolute priority in government, and I hope it's a cross-party issue to absolutely bear down on knife crime.
Well, back here in South Yorkshire, more and more flowers are being left here at the school gates. Meanwhile, the football community paid its own tribute to Harvey last night. This was the 15th minute of Rotherham United's game against Bradford when fans and players stopped for a minute's applause. Harvey's mum, Caroline, saying it meant so much. Well, no doubt we can also expect to see similarly emotional scenes at the weekend as well. Harvey was an avid Sheffield United fan, and there are plans to march in his honour from the Town Hall to Bramall Lane ahead of their home game on Saturday. There's also a church service planned earlier in the day in Handsworth.
And Michael, have we heard yet when the school might reopen?
Well, it has been closed since Harvey's death on Monday, but tonight parents have been told that it will be back open again tomorrow. The school has said that it will work closely with the council and the police, including having more officers around and inside the school itself to make sure that staff and students feel safe as they continue to try and come to terms with the horrific events of Monday lunchtime.
Michael Billington live in Sheffield for us. Thank you. Well, earlier the Prime Minister praised the police's response to the traumatic events at All Saints, but there's growing concern that frontline stress is fueling a mental health crisis among those whose job it is to protect us.
An investigation by Calendar found that it cost nearly 60,000 officer workdays last year alone. And there are warnings that after last year's disorder in Rotherham and Leeds, things could get worse.
One West Yorkshire officer said his career was ruined by a drink driver who ran him over and left him for dead. But as he told our reporter Charlie Bergman, trauma had already become a regular part of his job.
Knife on the floor now! What?
I shot him with a taser and it had no impact. It sort of charged him up and he just lunged at me with a knife, trying to attack me in my neck.
Stephen was a frontline police officer for 14 years.
Get on the floor now!
This armed confrontation with a man in Pontefract, one of many traumatic incidents he faced.
It's fight or flight, and at that moment, my daughter's face has literally flashed in my eyes, and I just thought, what do I do here? How do I get out of this? I still don't know to this day how we come out of there without a scratch.
Within days, he was back on duty. But it was during a routine call a year later, in July 2021, that everything changed.
And no sooner had I stepped out of the van and went to grab hold of the female, there were just bright lights to my right-hand side and a almighty bang. I just went hurtling through the air and landed straight on my feet and my legs snapped from underneath me.
He was hit by a drunk driver who was later jailed for 3 years and 8 months.
I could feel blood pouring and I thought, something serious has happened here. What's happened to me? What has happened? It's been really challenging, to the point some days where I didn't actually think I were ever going to recover from it.
The impact robbed him of his mobility and his frontline career through years of rehabilitation.
I've had quite a lot of therapy. It's pulled me through it. I think just generally being able to talk about it.
Stephen's been supported by the West Yorkshire Police Federation. It offers help to those struggling with their well-being.
There's a massive amount of mental health issues within policing. Stephen's story is not uncommon. Frontline policing is incredibly dangerous. That can be going to a house fire and dragging people out. That can go to a shooting. That can go to giving first aid to those people that, you know, from children to adults.
There is somewhere police can go in our region to seek support, but it receives no money from the government, so its officers funding it themselves. The Police Treatment Centre in Harrogate provides mental and physical care for nearly 4,000 people every year.
The centre was purpose-built in 1897 as a convalescent home.
Despite its long history, it only expanded to cover conditions like anxiety and depression in the last decade. 1 in 3 now come for mental health support.
When I first arrived, nobody would talk about why they were here. Historically, I think it's been one of these things that people have felt that they would be judged if they had said that they had a well-being issue or they were feeling stress or anxiety or depression. So it's moving. It's not where it should be.
There's less police to do the job that they're doing, faced with exactly the same, if not ever increasing trauma. In addition to all of this, the actual support that police officers used to have within force has also been chipped away because there's only so much money.
Stephen says he did access support, but had to pay for it privately. He now works from home, briefing officers remotely to do the work his body no longer can.
Put the knife down!
As police continue to be exposed to extreme trauma, he fears without better support, others may lose more than their livelihoods.
Well, the reporter on that story was Charlie Bergman. Charlie's with us in the studio now. And Charlie, that was just one story from one officer in West Yorkshire. But what about the rest of the region?
Well, it's a similar picture across the board, Ian. We asked for figures from all of the forces around our region. They revealed that frontline officers in our region took nearly 60,000 days off work last year because of stress. More than half of that was in West Yorkshire alone. That force has seen a rise of 40% over the past 5 years. Now, we should mention that not every force collects its data in the same way. In North Yorkshire, they count instances of sickness rather than days, and that means that overall figure of 60,000 is actually likely to be quite a lot higher.
And so, Charlie, why are we seeing these rising numbers?
Well, one thing that came up with everyone I spoke to was a lack of government funding, which they say has led to understaffing and forces being overstretched. We put that claim to the policing minister, Yorkshire MP Dame Diana Johnson.
In the police settlement, the money for next year, there's an additional £1 billion going into policing, 2 police forces. And what we know is that some police forces already have got good occupational health departments supporting police officers and staff. We want them all to be good. So this is obviously a combination of money, but also working with police forces.
Dame Diana Johnson there talking about the police force, of course. But what about our other emergency services, Charlie?
Well, Ian, it's pretty much the exact same picture across the board. It's definitely not an issue isolated to the police. Firefighters took nearly 8,000 days off because of stress last year. That's 130% more than 5 years ago. And in the ambulance service, the number of days off rises to nearly 35,000. And those figures only go up to April last year. Now, since then, we've seen rioting and disorder across our region. So there are real concerns that even more officers might be taking time off in the coming months because of their mental health.
Yes, it's a worrying picture, Charlie. Thank you. Now, you're watching Wednesday night's calendar. Thanks for being with us. Still to come, after their 7-0 demolition of Cardiff, Leeds will be hoping to upset Frank Lampard's Coventry tonight. We'll hear from United boss Daniel Farke shortly.
And already some beautiful sunshine around the region today. A little bit of cloud and a few showers this afternoon, but not spoiling things too much. And under the clearer skies tonight, a chilly one. All the detail a little later on.
Well, some more of the day's news now, and inquests into the death of 3 teenagers who died when their car crashed into a ditch in West Breton near Wakefield has been opened and adjourned. The 18-year-old driver of the car, Kobe Jones, died from multiple head injuries. The 2 backseat passengers, Daniel Grace and Shay Doyle, who were both 19, also died from multiple injuries. 2 other men were in the car, which crashed almost a fortnight ago, and investigations are continuing.
Now, it's a route well known for those heading from our region over to Manchester, but the future for the Snake Pass in North Derbyshire is far from certain, as the historic road across the Pennines is suffering from landslips.
Yes, Derbyshire County Council has appealed to the government for extra cash to repair the route, but so far has been told no, and that raises the possibility that if another major landslip happens, the road might close for good. Here's Martin Fisher.
Winding through the stunning North Derbyshire scenery, the Snake Pass provides a vital link between Sheffield and Manchester. But neither of those cities pay for its upkeep. That instead is Derbyshire County Council's responsibility, and they want more money to do it.
If we had a major slip, which, you know, the alarm bells are starting to ring with those landslips, that we would need a fund. You know, we wouldn't be able to do that sort of major project on its own.
The council has called for a contingency fund to be set up by the government to help save the road. But the Department for Transport has said there's no money for such a fund, and its upkeep must come from the council's coffers. Now, the problem with Snake Pass in this part of Derbyshire really is one of geology. It's built on unstable material, as you can see here. This is one of the landslips, one of 4 landslips on the road. And the road has just fallen away, making a single carriageway. And that opens the prospect of Snake Pass perhaps being shut permanently. And if that sounds far-fetched, well, it's already happened to a road not too far from here. This is, or rather was, the A625 road around Mantor. It too suffered from landslips, with engineers trying for decades to stabilise it. But it was an increasingly difficult battle, so much so that the route was abandoned in 1979. Back on the Snake, those using it today don't want the same thing to happen here.
For us runners, obviously, again, it's just cutting off beautiful nature, footpath, what people come here for at the end of the day.
It's a great place for people to come and walk, and without people being able to, we'd have all of this cut off.
7 tonners, it's a lot quicker to gloss up and through to Manchester. Yeah, that it would be, wouldn't it?
More than 30,000 vehicles use the Snake Pass each week. If it were forced to close due to landslips, that traffic would be pushed elsewhere. But for cyclists who love the picturesque route, it could be a bonus.
And this could become like one of the most popular leisure cycling routes in the country, sort of alongside Monsell Trail, which is just south in Buxton.
Derbyshire County Council say they have no plans to shut Snake Pass. But the question remains, how long can an already damaged road survive? Martin Fisher, ITV News in North Derbyshire.
Well, now then, to the latest social media trend. I don't know if you've heard about this, Ian. It encourages people to spend less on items they don't really need.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? You heard that right. Online influencers are now encouraging the reuse and recycling of products through something dubbed under-consumption core.
Now, with many either feeling the squeeze of the cost of living crisis or perhaps becoming more passionate about the planet, Green campaigners say it's a trend that could be here to stay. Chris Conway has more.
It's a trend that aims to encourage people to reconsider just how much they consume.
And here's the before and after.
The movement is about an attitude of less is more and repurposing what we have at a time when some feel social media content encourages people to buy things they don't need. In Sheffield, sustainable fashion Instagrammer Faye says she's seen a shift away from regular spending to longer-term alternatives.
There is a real issue with over-consuming products, and I think that people are becoming tired of that, and I think there's a real sort of shift into either styling the clothes you already own from your wardrobe or buying second-hand.
That suit can be pressed into service once again. In fact, any amount of things can be made to lead a new life.
Experts argue other forms of underconsumption core in decades gone by include the Make, Do and Mend campaign during the Second World War. This time, there are new influences.
For some people, it might mean simply using up products like cosmetics, making sure that they've used up everything before they buy a new item. For other people, it might be about reusing as much as possible. So, for example, if you've got, garments, instead of chucking them out because you don't want to wear them twice, let's rethink that and let's make sure that we're using that garment as much as possible because we don't want it to end in a landfill.
One part of the underconsumption trend is about showing that it's okay to buy things second-hand. The Green Heart Collective is keen to tap into this sentiment. They say shopping pre-loved makes a world of difference to the world.
You can find that lots of people who do it never look back because there's a joy in doing it. I haven't bought new clothes for 5 years now, but I absolutely love getting dressed in the morning. I love my wardrobe. I love the clothes that I do have because I've found real treasures and good quality clothes that I know I've been able to wear with a clear conscience as well.
Those involved in underconsumption say true happiness doesn't come from a repetitive cycle of buying items that have gone viral online. Instead, they have 2 words of advice for shoppers looking to spend on the latest trend. Think twice. Chris Conway, ITV News.
I just think one day you might be able to wear Lisa's top, you never know. Time for a little bit of sport now, and Leeds United could extend their lead at the top of the Championship when they travel to Coventry tonight. The Whites go into the game on the back of their 7-0 demolition of Cardiff on Saturday, their biggest win in over 50 years. But manager Daniel Farke is warning his team not to get complacent going into the last third of the season.
It's not like just because we're Leeds United, just because we have the best fans in this country, just because we have the biggest fan base. And we have such a big name, so much history and tradition, we will have an easy way to promotion. Otherwise, we would have done this in the last 2 decades more often.
Meanwhile, Bradford City are one step away from a trip to Wembley after reaching the semi-finals of the EFL Trophy. Their quarter-final with Rotherham last night was settled when Brad Halliday was brought down in the box and Richie Smallwood scored from the penalty spot. The semi-finals will be played over 2 legs, with the first scheduled to take place in 2 weeks' time.
Lovely. Now, it's a special day today. Did you know?
Well, I didn't until a little earlier, but go on, Kerry, tell us.
It's National Weather Presenters Day. Thanks very much for the card and flowers. You did get me a cuppa and it was very nice, and that's all I need, a good brew. It was really nice today, wasn't it?
It was lovely.
It's setting the scene for high pressure in charge, giving us some lovely sunny spells. This was New Miller Dam. A big thank you to Steve Billcliffe. And also this one from the Yorkshire Dales. A little bit of cloud, middle part of the day, a few showers, not spoiling things too much. Chilly night tonight, of course the forecast's coming up. But lots of people asking me about a beast from the east. In 2018, it came all the way from Siberia across to us where we'd had a cold spell over the UK. But over the next few days, this is Sunday's chart, it's taking a little bit of a detour, that air mass, and it's dragging in slightly milder air from the middle of Europe, from mid-Europe. So it's not quite as cold, but possibly just a slight wintry mix with our showers as we head into the weekend of next week. So an easterly, but no beast from the east.
No snowmageddon.
No snowmageddon for now.
Don't believe the hype.
Glad to hear it. Now, I've got a question for you. Why did the zebras cross the road? Well, in this case, down at Nether Edge in Sheffield, it was to push for a new zebra crossing by their local primary school. Campaigners came up with this ingenious way to highlight the issue. And of course, just look at them there. We'll let you know how they get on. Excellent.
Certainly stopping traffic there by the looks of things.
Certainly was, yes. One way to attract attention, there's no doubt about it. Well done to them. Now then, let's get the weather forecast proper now. Here's Kerry.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, it was a day of thirds today. A beautiful start across many parts of the region. First thing this morning, plenty of blue sky. High pressure building from the south, but we did have from the north a little bit more cloud for the middle part of the day before those skies continue to clear overnight tonight. High pressure becoming established right over the UK tomorrow, but migrating northwards to allow this low pressure system to creep in on Saturday. But then high pressure rebuilds from Scandinavia, hopefully coming towards us once more from Sunday onwards and keeping all of this weather out to the west. So in the meantime, for this evening and overnight tonight, largely dry and clear with light winds, and that will allow for a fairly widespread frost to develop. As we head into the early hours, most places 0 or below, and there is still a risk of 1 or 2 freezing fog patches as we head towards dawn. There are some times as we head into Thursday, 7:44 and 4:57. So tomorrow, very cold start, frosty, potentially foggy, but if you don't get the freezing fog patches, a beautiful start with plenty of sunshine. Might be a little bit of patchy cloud floating to southern parts during the afternoon, but not spoiling things too much. Temperatures around the average, but it will feel colder tomorrow, especially in exposure to that easterly breeze, so especially at the coast, feeling more like 4 or 5 Celsius. A patchy frost to begin as we head into tomorrow night, but that easterly does kick in as we head into Friday, so it will drag in a bit more moisture off the North Sea and a little bit more cloud. Hopefully these showers staying further south, but slightly elevated chance of one. Certainly as we head into Saturday, it looks more unsettled. Sunday drier with high pressure rebuilding.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you very much, Kerry. You know, those zebras did make me laugh. They're just like horses with stripes, aren't they?
Ah, talking of horses, this is Sapphire, the Shire horse at Cannon Hall, and she's had a baby. Look at this beautiful foal, and they're after a name. They're after a name.
So get your thinking caps on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She looks very proud, Mum, doesn't she?
It does, very much so.
That's it, isn't it, from us? Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Take care.